here, but the motor right here produces a lot of power, a lot of precision, and it helps me, just feel the car more, feel the car a lot quicker, especially, this week we're at Sonoma. I can feel it, when it hits the curbs, any little change in the car, the wheel reacts a lot quicker than your typical gear-driven or belt-driven wheel. For example, if you're on oval and the rear tires break loose, force feedback on it corrects a lot quicker than your typical wheels. There's no resistance pretty much as far as being able to make quick corrections on the wheel. So all that, paired with how precise the wheel itself is, it makes it to where it helps you as a driver, to find that extra hundredth or thousandths of a second. So when you're getting a, direct drive wheel, especially the VRS wheel, it's heavy duty. It's got good weight to it, it's not a plastic toy. It feels like you can really beat up on it. A lot of people have issues with their plastic gear-driven wheels just kind of breaking after a couple years. This thing just feels like it can go forever. The forces are really strong where if you might have to let go of the wheel if you get into the wall. You can adjust all that with the settings on it and stuff, but the wheel itself doesn't play around. It's got way more strength than you could ever need, and that's what makes it good, that you can adjust that down to whatever the car needs. So initially you'll be able to get the controller box and the motor together, and eventually you will be able to add a rim onto that option. They'll also be including a button plate on it to put on the rim to have all sorts of different buttons and functionality. Also, pedals are coming, so that's a pretty big deal as well. Hasn't been covered too much, but the goal is to also have pedals to go along with the Direct Force Pro. So that's pretty exciting. The wheel feels good. It feels very much like a real world steering wheel. You just kind of feel like what you would imagine the car to feel like. A real steering wheel in a car is very smooth, it's very direct, very quick, and that's what this wheel feels like.
The final round, the final trip, and this time we head to some Dutch dunes. You wanted back-to-back when it came to Formula Racing. Well, you're getting back-to-back not only for the real, but the virtual as well. Your iRacing Grand Prix Series comes to Zandvoort for the final trip of this iRacing Grand Prix Series season. Important to keep in mind, we're on the old circuit, so there's no banking to help overtaking. No, it's a truer challenge. Some would say it is flat, and it is difficult, especially for a track which is a roller coaster, even at the worst and best of times. I'm Jake Sperry, Jay Kennedy, along for the ride, called up at late notice here for this one. Jay, welcome to the party and the conversation. We are here at a track which is notorious for being a nightmare to overtake at.
100% Sperry, and hello everybody. You called in last minute. Lucky I hadn't gone to bed after working on the iRacing Porsche broadcast not that long ago with the big announcement of the new Porsche 992. But yeah, this is a cool track, and it's an underrated track. It's often forgotten about, and every time we do races here, we're like, why don't we race at Zandvoort more? Because it is such a cool place. And I'm looking forward to seeing how these guys go. We haven't raced at this circuit for a little while in these cars, but it is such a fun track. And despite the upgrades of the modern track, this old one still has the same great character, which they've managed to keep in the new version as well. Overtaking opportunities are there, but very, very tough to get moves done.
I agree, they are going to be at a premium track. Opened in 1948. If you understand anything about this, you know that box means corner. So from Tarzan to Gerlach, the Hugenholz hairpin there, you got that run all the way there on the right, and then continue to go through some very important corners. In that final corner, Arie Luijendijk. This is a track which is influenced by oval racing. The owners here absolutely love their oval racing. Arie Luijendijk, of course, one of the only Dutch winners of the Indianapolis 500. Of course, we went to Indy earlier on this season. But let's talk championship, as drivers are getting their 2 mandatory laps in at this stage. We think it's all over, and it pretty much is now. That's how it looks with 3 drop rounds removed. It is a gap of 44 points between Matt Wood and Jorge Marquez. But we flip over to what we expect with 4 drop rounds. It is even tougher. You can see it's an exact 40 points, and with a field strength today of about 3,400, I believe it is, Jay, this is over. There's no way with the iRacing system that you could magically recover those points which had been lost earlier on in the season to build that margin.
Yeah, exactly right. The maximum amount of points for Marquez to steal it away from Matt Wood isn't there, regardless of where Matt Wood finishes and where Marquez finishes. So mathematically, there is unfortunately no chance for Marquez to take the championship away, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the championship is not up for grabs. Every position from 4th on back is up for grabs. There'll be a lot of bragging rights around every single driver in that spot. Kent Nielsen will be looking to capitalise on a great season. Thomas Bartosic will be wanting to capitalise after some great and poor races in this series so far, so he won't want to lose any more spots. Renato Augusto has been one of the sort of hidden away drivers. He is always just there, putting in great results and very, very consistent results, and a top 4 championship position for him, justified in how his season has been, but it's not done, and all of them want that spot. All of them want to get as many points as they can, and they've got just one more opportunity to get bulk points and try and get themselves up the field.
I certainly agree, unless someone pulls all their good friends with about 8,000 or 9,000 iRating together and says, hey, do you want to race an F1 race for a little bit of fun and help me get some points? I doubt that we will see that too much here today, but drivers are getting themselves all sorted and situated. Matt Wood currently with the fastest time on pole position currently, 1:10.926 out there on track. There you can see making progress then through towards this beautiful arena section out on track. It's John Pat Kelly at this moment in time through the left and attacking the SRT sports car through towards these penultimate 2 corners out on track. This is Arie Luyendyk, the final one. It's banked now in the real world. It's got 18 degrees of parabolic banking to make sure that you can go through that section. We even saw a stroopwafel, one of the most famous Dutch inventions in terms of the food, being rolled down the hill to be eaten by one McLaren, I would say, garagista, who was out there at that stage. Jan Straczynski is the only other driver, the Canadian, who can set a lap time out there. 1:12.7 currently time at the moment for Jan. Going to make a drive over towards the line. It's a 1:12.5, so it is an improvement, and surprisingly an improvement of 1 position there in that qualifying go-around. So let's get a little look then on how things stack up then in regards to qualifying. 20 drivers here today, over 2 splits worth of action, and it is very clear that it is car number 1, the champion, who has got exactly what is needed. Matt Wood, 1:10.927, puts it on pole with Jorge Marquez, his main challenger, once again a bridesmaid here in the iRacing Grand Prix Series, then getting 2nd place overall. Klaus Siemetz will take 3rd on the grid. Another great drive from Klaus in qualifying with David Weisbeck there in 4th. Darren Parker starts 5th alongside Jamie R. Hall there in 6th position overall, with Mitchell Welker in 7th and Kent Nielsen there in 8th place. It'll be 9th for Renato Augusto in the number 15 car, with Remy Garcia, the Frenchman, lining up in 10th place. He's joined by David Soranzo in 11th position, with Jacob Reed in 12th place, with John Pat Kelly and Tamas Shane making it an all-American 7th row of the grid. Valentin Milanovici goes from 15th, with Felipe Cocho there in 16th place from Club New York, with Jan Straczynski and Christoph Mont surprisingly down the order there in 18th. Will have a lot of work to do to maintain his top 10 standing in the championships, with John Atkinson Jr. and Brad Newman rounding out the 20-car field. Brad qualifying his 1:14 out there on the hard compound tyre, but I think is going to be able to move over potentially to the softs before this race starts. So it's going to be an interesting one. 2 minutes to grid up. All they start from pit lane. It's a narrow circuit as well, and you can see just how tight it gets when you make that run towards turn number 1. You need to be absolutely on it. Not much spacing either between the grid positions. If someone has a moment off the start, you are bound to see dramas come about because of it. If you haven't had a chance to already, though, ladies and gentlemen, you can like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content brought to you by the team here at SimSpeed TV. We're not a million miles away from 2 very cool events. One is Max Bantz 15. The other one, of course, the Bathurst 1000, brought to you by Scops. That could be absolutely everything in the mix, just waiting for 2 drivers to take to the grid. One is Brad Newman, and one of the others is Jamie R. Hall. So everybody is up on the grid. We are ready for action at this brilliant circuit. Lights on for the final time this season. Lights are out and we're underway. Siemens does not get off at the start, nor too, I believe, Jamie Hall didn't get the best of launches, and already he's been swarmed back down into about 8th place. And Wood round the outside, holding it through Tarzan to the opening section of track. It has worked absolutely fantastically, but watch out as they head into Gerlach at turn 2. It can very easily fall afoul with drivers trying to work a way through, but everybody has seemingly worked their way through the start without any dramas at all. Wood leads.
Great start. Very clean start as well. Surprised how clean that was. Didn't think we were going to get all of the cars away as clean as we did. And now we move on into the back half of the circuit where it does start to get into single file racing. It's tough to make overtakes in the second half of the field. As we're on board here with Ronaldo Augusto. Sorry, my apologies. Just having a couple of tech issues I'm trying to fix at the same time. Sorry, Sperry.
It's no worries at all. They head into Hans Erst here, this brilliant arena section. If you saw anything of the Formula One, you would have seen just how much of a wall of orange was down there at that section of track. They head now for the final 2 corners out there on circuit, and just like that, a lap is score complete. We've got 47 of those here today, as you can see the charge as they go forward now, this slew as they head towards turn number 1 out on track, and it's going to be a mighty tough challenge today to find overtaking as they make that work through, in through 2, in through 3 here at the Hugenholz corner, and back up the hill, the mag performance machine there of Jorge Marquez, looking to try and shadow as much as possible. This is a strategy card today, and that pit stop is going to be the most vital thing we see. 2 stop, 1 stop. Do you go to mediums? Do you go soft? Do you see someone, for example, like Brad Newman trying to pilot the hard tyre all the way to the end?
Yeah, well, we sort of heard from the drivers before the race that there's lots of different strategy options, as you said. Soft, 2 stop is very potential to work. Guys that are very good on tyres, the likes of Ronaldo Augusto, they may be able to do it on 1 stop, soft, but the preferred strategy is a 2 stop with softs all the way, or do 1 stop and go soft to medium, or if you did your qualifying on medium, then go to softs at the end for the sprint to the end. But tyre life is really going to be key. One interesting factor that they've got in their favour, though, is the track temperature is nowhere near as hot as you may get at other circuits. It's only 30 degrees, so that could play into the favour of guys maybe making the tyres hold out to do that 1 stop soft a little bit easier.
Well, for your hope of Ronaldo Augusto going soft, that's not going to work because he started the race on the medium compound tyres. So that's one that's definitely not going to happen. We can put that in the books for you, ladies and gentlemen, through Shevlak. Such an aggressive right-hand corner, which needs all of the commitment and bravery as they go through. And you can see just how much they have to settle the car down through this section and get it all slowed. The next left-hander of 10 comes along, and every single corner now is a fight, or turn 9 even, I should say. You're fighting every corner for a little bit of something here and there. There's some good starts that have gone on through the field. One of them that I have been seeing right now, Tamashane, one of the best, is just behind. You can see Remy Garcia and David Soranzo fighting. Soranzo in traditional French colours, that being the Alpine mock-up car that is there. And then you've got just in front, off the road, Remy Garcia finds himself in the barriers then on the outside of Arie Lurendyk, and that's what happens when you get yourself in the wrong place.
Yeah, big mistake there, and as we were watching that, Jamie Hall with DRS now open was able to get the move done on Ronaldo Augusto down the front straight, but that was a crazy little accident there, and a very unusual incident, you'd say, for these cars as well. It's not something you'd normally see happen.
I think it was more of a case of just bottoming out as we look at the Virtual Racing School replay, get an idea and an understanding of how this goes wrong. So this is from the perspective of Remy Garcia making his way to that penultimate corner. Now watch the exit. This is going to be the crucial point How does he attack the exit of this corner? Well, here's the issue. He just gets locked up on that curb. And once you do, because of the banking slopes that are there to slow down these machines around this circuit, it's effectively like trying to be Tony Hawk, trying to do some rail on some street, for example. It's never going to work.
100%. It's very, very tough to get the car to turn when only a couple of wheels are touching the ground. If you've got all four on the ground, obviously a lot easier, but with only two and only one of them trying to turn, doesn't usually play in your favour as you're back live. And the lead is a lot closer than I thought it would be. We often see in these sort of races, Matt Wood can break away a fairly easy margin early on, but Marquez is sticking with him and applying the pressure. He's making sure that, sure, he might not be able to mathematically win the championship, but he still wants to win that last race, which often is not a bad bridesmaid's ticket. If you can't win the championship, in the end, winning the last race is a pretty good way to take the season away.
Bragging rights, that's all it is.
100%.
If it comes down to a pure race, I want to win this race more than you do. And so Jorge Marquez there, you can see very different lines being taken there by both drivers. So much shallower coming out then of that section was Jorge Marquez. And it really does show that Matt Wood's able to get a tenth and a little bit going through and looking to attack through this section. It's not a case of it being the easiest to deal with at this stage when you're dealing with all of that on track. So you can see there, Matt Wood as well has had a little few updates on the car, I would say visually at this moment in time. You can see the Huixenveld sponsorship there, the SimLab sponsorship. That is very much a team that we all know has a great history and legacy, Jay, when it comes to this beautiful track.
100%. Very, very cool to see. Nice little update to his car. It's been interesting that he's using the very similar to the Mission Winnow livery on the side, but he's just changed it because they're his initials.
Yep, MW, Matt Wood, Mission Wood, I would say that is at this point in time, going through the right and looking to attack further forward in this one. Still not over though, strategy-wise. The top 7 here in the opening 6 laps, still within 5 seconds at this point in time, going back to Mitchell Welker in 7th position. And Welker is the sort of driver that I look at really, Jay, and think this guy has that little bit of something out there who could challenge and could do so very well. You can see him in that lazy rocket machine looking to push forward Project 2 and looking to challenge. And hey, guess what? He's got free real estate on the side for his or for the various Twitter handles that he has. That's good marketing, ladies and gentlemen, there from Mitchell Welker, which sometimes a few teams can fall foul of. But it's crucial. Everyone is sitting up within a DRS range, and they're using that on that main straight to keep themselves within the margins necessary, as off the road on the red tyres there goes one of the cars. That's Felipe Cocho in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, and that's crabbing really badly too, so that's probably going to be a very, very similar incident to the one we saw not that long ago from Garcia. Here it is on the replay.
Oh, carbon copy.
Yep. Same incident, different livery.
Yeah, I mean, so it may be different, but, you know, it stays the same when you have issues like this. John Atkinson Jr. is also down in the pit. So John's had his own moment, and that has come at turn number... No, it's come just on the exit, actually, in that transfer of right to left. He's thrown it in the barriers as the number 9 from the Phoenix Esports outfit. So we'll catch this on the Virtual Racing School replay and get that for you on screen post-haste. It's before then.
Before that, yes. And there we go. Whoa. He hit that wall really hard. Even with it being side on, that was very, very heavy hit.
Absolutely, and this is the issue that you have. You're putting a lot of load. You're going 3 straight corners right. You go through Shivlak, you then go through Masters, you go through the next right-hander after that, and then when the car wants to transfer over, bang! Big hit there at turn 2. That's someone in the mid to rear. That's Jacob Reed in all sorts of troubles there, and a heavy accident at Gerlach, and one which, quite honestly, it's very fortunate to have not bounced back onto the circuit.
Saw this 3-car battle here. Tamashino was involved, or just ahead of these guys as well.
Oh.
But this was a very, very tense battle, and there was contact there as well. So been a couple of corners of contact.
There's been a couple of corners of contact, but I think you have to say this is netcode. And it's very heavy netcode. Watch from Soranzo's perspective here. He's going to get alongside and bang, there's the hit. And it's a good, I would say, third of a car's width between them as they came through. And that's the reason why Jacob Reed's in trouble. Let's look at it from Soranzo's perspective in the mock Alpine. You can see he's just there. He gets alongside. Yeah, nothing you can do about that. That is netcode, pure and simple.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, isn't it, that it's something we can't really change. It's the nature of racing on the internet. We're always going to have it, always have to have some sort of prediction modeling, and someone unfortunately is often on the wrong side of it. As much as we hate it, it's always going to be there, and it's always going to be part of racing. And disappointing end to what was a really cool little battle that was brewing there between those three.
I certainly agree. We're on lap 9 of 47, and drivers now are settling into their rhythm, into their strategies. You'd be thinking around maybe lap 17 for those going soft medium. You're thinking for those trying soft, they've got to get to about lap 24, 25, making that a reality, 23 potentially. So you've always got that in the back of the mind to think of as we focus still on Welker on the back of Kent Nielsen in the number 7 car, currently in 6th position, up 2 spots at this moment. Welker, of course, has gone backwards off of his grid slot. He's gone nowhere off his grid slot because it's been a direct switch between Nielsen and Hall in terms of where they've been. But again, not quite there for the moment. But again, it's the constant needling that is going to be putting into perspective just how much Kent Nielsen needs to be looking behind in the mirrors.
The other thing with that too is because it's such a narrow track, is David Weisbeck's off the track.
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
That's not a traditional place you see a car off the road. And that will be coming out of turn 3 as he now has to deal with more dramas behind out there on circuit, attacking towards Masters. Not a traditional place to get a move done, but ultimately able to stay ahead for the moment. There's no contact with anyone or anything. That is just a case of pure and simple being too aggressive coming out of the Hugenholz corner. We're going to go on board and see it through one here of Tarzan. Gerlach is turn 2 here, this right-hander, and then you come to the Hugenholz here, and he's just overcooked it on the exit here, getting the power down too early.
It wasn't even opening the wheel up or anything. It was just straight out too fast, wasn't he? Just overpowered, and almost like he forgot to continue turning or something. It was very, very strange.
Understand.
Well, that's a big part, yes. Here comes Hall. No.
Nope. It's an issue trying to get a move done there at turn 1, is that you've got the banking so you can hold the outside line if you are very, very brave with it. Back to Welker and Nielsen then in the fight for 5th place now here in this one. And once more, they will crest up through the sweeping S's section. Nielsen getting a little bit squirrely in the rears, going through Rob Slopemaker there, the right-hander. So he's got to be a little bit careful about how the rear reacts around this track. But really what we're seeing in 29 degrees conditions, in middle of the day conditions as well, we might add, that's going to be important. And it's also worth noting why this track's a little bit colder than other places out there, Jay, and that is that these are dunes, these are sand dunes that you see alongside this. Zandvoort is on the Dutch coast, and naturally that sea breeze cools this track down. Yeah,
and it's just a spot as well that's naturally cooler than a lot of others, so air temp fairly cool as well at 18 degrees. What I was about to say before too, before we went to that incident, we were talking about how Kent Nielsen has to watch his mirror to make sure he keeps Mitchell Welker behind. The other part to that is into the pits in the background. You saw Welker coming in and almost got hit by Jamie Hall. Sorry, Weisbeck. Thank you. This track is very, very narrow, as you said before, but on that as well, it's also one line. There's not really any corners except for maybe turn 9, turn 10, that section there, maybe 2 lines there. But everywhere else is one line, one lane. So pressure from behind is amplified when there's nowhere at all you can make a mistake. Half a car width offline and that loses you 3 or 4 spots in a normal situation. So Kent Nielsen's going to feel the pressure here, but he's felt worse pressure than this all season long from other drivers and been able to handle it quite well. So this is going to be a very, very cool fight to watch here. Side note as well, Tamashano's come in to do a pit stop, as well as we saw Weisbeck in, and Jacob Reed in as well. So 3 pit stops now done, as Reed's come in to fix the nose, and Shano and Weisbeck for their first new set of tyres.
And what's interesting is that those two have gone to 2 completely different strategies, as Welker looking to eye up the pass is going to be defended on the inside there by Kent Nielsen, but Welker's not saying no, trying to go high side looking for the move. He's not going to get that one sorted, but Weisbeck's gone on to the yellow walled mediums. Shane's committed to a 2-stop because he's gone for a second set, the soft compound tyre. So you can really tell the differences that are there out there on circuit. One driver's going soft, one driver's going medium, and they're going for 2 very different kinds of results out there here today. Meanwhile, that Nielsen and Welker battle is encroaching in on Darren Parker and Klaus Siemetz here, the scrap for 3rd place out on track, which makes this a 4-car battle, now 6 seconds adrift of Marquez and Wood, who have kept themselves nose to tail throughout the entirety of this race. They're effectively twins, you can't separate them.
Yeah, they're just driving away in unison from the front of the field from the rest of the pack. But this battle did stretch out into 2 separate 2-car groups, but then all of a sudden they've just all joined back in together again, haven't they? So this is going to be very, very interesting to watch over the next few laps. We'll expect to see a couple of these drivers jump into the pits and alternate strategies start to play out right on cue. Kent Nielsen coming in to make a pit stop. One thing we haven't talked about is how difficult this pit entry is to actually get into. It is not an easy pit lane to make the drive into at all.
Oh, I agree. It's like Alton Park in levels of difficulty, because you've got to do that very difficult right-left. Here's a Virtual Racing School replay then up on screen as we take a little look at this. This is how tough it is to get into the pits, as Kent Nielsen is out and away on another set of the soft compound tyres. You can see, dives down into the pits, got that hard right-left, and if you're turning and braking at the same time, see even Kent Nielsen just taps the right-hand side Armco there, getting it slowed down. So that's how easily it can go wrong. Nielsen committing to a 2-stop strategy here on the end of lap 13. I think's rather interesting. He's looking to go aggressive. And speaking of aggressive, here comes Darren Parker to the outside of Klaus Siemetz here at this brilliant arena section at Hanshurst, going through on the inside, using the banking to advantage. Darren Parker with a wonderful move. Siemetz is out there with no tyre.
Yeah, Klaus Siemetz has to come in this lap. He's down 3 seconds on his fastest lap, just on this lap alone. The leaders drive on by. Interesting that...
Oh, no! Siemetz and also Welker in trouble at the pit entrance. Siemetz could not get it slowed down. He buries himself in the attenuator, and Mitchell Welker, getting distracted by that, almost following the same way, drives it straight into the Armco. So what a disaster for those 2 drivers up there at the very front of the field.
Wow. That's crazy. I'm speechless.
So we were just talking about it, Jay. How difficult is pit entry here at Zandvoort? We weren't kidding. That's the first way it goes wrong. The second one, you can see, that's just a case of I can't get it slowed and I don't want to turn the car. And that's what happens when the cars lock up. These are finely tuned machines, and that's how quickly everything can turn awry here on lap 14. Meanwhile, here's your front 2. Matt Wood, Jorge Marquez. We've seen it's the tale as old as time. It's a tale we've seen all season long. And someone's had a moment actually at turn 1. They could see the gravel tracks as they went through. So someone's also had an off at 1, which I do not quite know who has. So it looks like Darren Parker's going to show everyone how it's done, how you get into the pits.
Yeah, it's not the quickest way to get into the pits, but definitely was a safe entry. He gets his car stopped. I'm going to guess that it was David Saranzo. May have had the issue at turn 1. He's lost a whole heap of time on this lap.
Oh, it was.
Kent Nielsen and himself in a little bit of traffic here. This will be hurting him. He's tucked in behind Christoph Montz, who has not pitted and is on the they are yellow wall. Yes, medium compound tyres. Couldn't quite see properly.
Well, there's the move. Look at this, side by side up the dunes. This is incredible here for Kent Nielsen and Christoph Montz around the outside of Rob Slopemaker into Shevlak. That's the difference of the tyres. And Christoph Mons, well, he's got nothing to argue about that. Kent Nielsen, just better tyre and attacking these dunes with absolutely everything.
Very good move, but new tyres is all he needed to get that done in at the front of the field. That would in. Marquez stays out. Will Marquez be able to make these last out to, say, lap 23, 24? If he can do that, he's on for a one-stop.
6 laps on those tyres. He will be out behind Matt Wood if he does so. But crucially, he wouldn't have to worry too much about it. Wood will come out and away on a set of the yellow-walled medium compound tyres. And now the question's going to be, how good are those mediums reacting in these favourable conditions for all tyres, you would say, at this point, except the hards. Jamie Hall out and away as David Weisbeck has to let Darren Parker go. That's an easy overtake, and for position, mind you, because Weisbeck pitted so early on lap 12 of this race. Jamie Hall just slots out a little bit behind that at this point in time. Something we also didn't say, Jay, at the start of this race, the barriers are very, very close around this place. It is a nightmare. If you even slightly breathe in the wrong direction, race is over.
Yeah, it's a traditional old school circuit, isn't it? With the barriers nice and close, no real runoffs except for maybe turn 1. This answers the question on whether Marquez will make it to halfway on tyres. That's a big no. But yeah, turn 1 and the final 2 corners have a good amount of runoff, and turn 7. Other than that, none. Absolutely no runoff anywhere. So through the arena section, 1 minor mistake, 1 bad bounce off the curb, you're in the tyres or in the Armco barrier. So you really have to be careful on your attack, how much you attack, and when you attack.
Oh, I certainly agree. The flat final corner here. And this should be a plain sailing pass for Darren Parker. Angling to the inside. He's got better tyres underneath him, searching for that line. Not going to get it all on the exit here as he tries to attack for Gerlach. He's got no power in comparison to Mons, using the banking, coming down the hill, getting gravity to work on the side. And this is holding up Darren Parker at the moment. But if you run wide like that, if you're Christoph Mons, well, cookies, I'll take those.
Nice easy pass in the end there. It wasn't looking like it was going to be easy at all, but Mons just losing those positions in the end. Now, Matt Wood versus Jorge Marquez is outside of a second now that Marquez has came out of the pits, but have a look at those tyres on Jorge Marquez's car. Mediums. He's got mediums. Matt Wood still has to come back in. Matt Wood, sorry, also on mediums. So they're still going the soft medium strategy. They've tired up, ready to go all the way to the end. Who can make these last 30 laps best?
Well, here's the issue that they've got coming forward. You look at the gap to the front, 6.1 seconds. That's Reynaldo Augusto, who leads this race at this point in time on that alternative medium soft strategy out there here today. And they're catching at a rate of a second a lap on Reynaldo. If they get caught behind, that's exactly what Jorge Marquez wants. To see Matt Wood get caught, he can then close up then with Reynaldo Augusto out in front, and then the games and the dramas can commence from that point onwards. So good strategies are going to be put into place and be tried and tested. Let's not forget either that Brad Newman is still out there on that set of the white walls, I do believe at the moment, the hard compound tyre. He's just behind Jan Stratinsky at the moment, 43 seconds adrift of your race lead.
Brad's honestly the only driver we've seen all season long run with the white wall tyre. We never see the white wall tyre work, but if he can make it last the whole race and not finish as the last runner, that's a plus for him. So he's already up 8 spots, of course a few DNFs, but if he can get it home and maybe finish in a top 10 position on the white wall tyre, which I can't think of any drivers out there other than Brad that would try to make this work. That'll be a good result for him. So if he can maintain pace with it, be a very, very good race for him. On the battle at the front, guess what? We're back within a second. DRS range is back on again. Marquez will be able to close that gap back down now with DRS on the front straight.
He certainly will. And Jorge Marquez will be definitely eyeing that up at this stage. The only other driver I could think of through my histories of seeing these iRacing races in Formula-style vehicles would be Max Del Orco, the only other driver, I believe, who could pull a strategy like that out at the moment. And there you can see Klaus Siemetz back out on circuit a lap down as well. Well, you can't see it right now, but he's just let through Kent Nielsen for the lapping. So that also being done. But this is really the time where you say, I think it might be confidence for Brad Newman potentially as we focus on this second and third, effectively your race lead battle. I think it's a confidence thing. We saw at Spa last week how little faith he had in getting the car stopped when those softs got themselves to the end. So he's thinking, I don't want to worry about that. I'm just going to go on the hard compound tyre, see what I can get. Gap 4 seconds now between Wood and Augusto.
Fastest lap of the race as well for Marquez on that last lap, 1:13.403. Gained 0.4 of a second, and you gained even more time after the start-finish line to close that gap down to almost nothing. So, Kamashane on new softs gets through on Christophe Montz on older mediums. But you're 100% right about that too. From the drivers that we've spoken to, almost all of them have said the harder tyres that you almost don't touch. So to see him out there may just be purely that. Doesn't want the tyres to drop off. Knows what he's got under his seat the entirety of the race. Very, very well possible that could be the situation.
Very much so. And that move from Tamashane past Christophe Montz was effectively for position because they both have to make one more stop on the back of Matt Wood here on the purple machine. And looking behind him, we'll see Jorge Marquez right there, looking to try and open up and overtake any which way is possible there. Gap 2, Reynaldo Augusto is down to 2.7 seconds now. Augusto starting to hit the cliff of those yellow wall tyres. There's a 115 flat on that last run. It is the first time in this stint that he has hit a 115. So those tyres are really falling off for the Brazilian. And just on the halfway stage, that's the last place you want to see them start going.
Yep. You don't want him to be going yet. He wants to get another 8 laps out of them if he can. Trying to stretch it out as long as he can, but if the pace drop-off is too high, you're going to have to just go, well, I'm going to have to bite the bullet and go again. The option you could do is get to halfway and go medium again. But medium soft seem to be much more preferred from every single driver we spoke to pre-race. So the thing that I'm surprised about is that the drivers that said straight flat out that soft to stop was the strategy are some of the drivers that have surprised us and have gone the soft medium. So I'm a little bit thrown by what they've said, and are they feeding us incorrect information on purpose to try and throw us off a little bit, or try and publicly state something completely wrong to throw others off the scent a little bit. I'm not sure, but I like it. I like the spiciness of the alternate from what they've actually said.
Politics in sim racing?
Never.
No, never. It's never happened, has it, Jay?
Never before and never will again, no.
No, exactly. Here's the leading trio, though, as they head through out of the Masters corner into that next right-hander. Matt Wood has really got to line this up here. This left is crucial if he wants it as he goes through, because Hans Erst, you can see Marquez is all over the back now, and it's going to be up to Reynaldo Augusto. Does he want to cover this move? Matt Wood trying to search for it. It's not going to be there. They are going to be tripping over each other through these final 2 corners, with Reynaldo Augusto's old tyres backing them up like an accordion here. Through the right, on with Marquez here as they go through. Matt Wood's a little bit too aggressive. He has to lift through that section of track, and this is going to be crucial here. And no, into the back! Marquez is completely clattered into the back of Reynaldo Augusto, who was not expecting the fact that he was going to pit. Augusto's race is over, and that is how dangerous pit entry can be.
Yeah, I think Augusto was trying to come into the pits, but I'm guessing Marquez thought that he was just moving over to defend the spot or let the guys through, and just literally ran him over.
Yeah, you can see he's trying to get the draft, and he's just moved out too late because you have to hit the brakes for it. Marquez, it needs that little bit of communication, and Reynaldo Augusto absolutely in tears over it, over the in-game chat, because he knows that he was on a really, really good race strategy, and it's all over. But this also confirms the race over, because look at that damage to the front wing of one Mr. Jorge Marquez. He has got to either go home with all of that. He had a big gap of about 8 seconds to Nielsen, 10 seconds to Darren Parker. Either that, or he comes in for a stop and goes really hyper-aggressive on some softs at the end.
Yeah, I think it might be just wait and see how bad the car is over the next few laps and get it to lap, say, 33, 34. If it's dropped off pace-wise, might have to come in, because remember, the guys behind him, some of them have to pit as well. So, unfortunate way for his season to end, though. And I feel for Augusto. He was trying the complete opposite to everyone else. We got it to the halfway point, which we said was the key for him. Coming to get another set and go again, but unfortunate way that this race is going to end for those guys. Augusto and Marquez, of course. Marquez still going, but this is not how he wanted to end the season.
No, I totally agree there. And Renato Augusto, I wonder in a past life how many ladders that he walked under and how many cats crossed his path and all the other superstitions that come in, because he just can't catch a break as Hall fights Weisbeck for a top 5.
I guess the one positive is that he's going to see out the end of this season the way that he's seen out almost every race in this season so far. So get rid of all the bad luck for this season, start next season afresh, and don't carry over that bad luck again. But Augusto, yeah, that's just not fair, unfortunately, but that's part of racing sometimes. And in hindsight, what would he have done differently? Maybe told everyone that he was pitting, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's just sad to see the race end like that.
I totally agree. Sim racing is not fair, ladies and gentlemen. Racing is not fair, and sometimes there's not much you can do. Hall closing in that gap, trying to angle to that inside, but doesn't get enough of a run here to attack David Weisbeck in towards turn number 1. Now, Weisbeck, remember, pitted incredibly early in this race for that set of mediums, came in on lap 12 for them, so he's looking to try and ask 35 laps on that set of medium compound tyres. I don't think David Weisbeck can get those mediums to the end. If he can, he'll be on carcasses.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they can go that far, but we've seen bizarre things with tyres throughout this season, and no doubt see it again. And we'll see if he can make it last. I'm wondering if he does come in maybe with 10 to go, put on another set of softs and go for a real aggressive final 10 laps, low fuel, fresh tyres, and try and punch out some very, very quick times. But hard to know what the strategy mindset is at the moment, because that was a surprisingly early stop from him. And I don't see how that time of the pit stop really can be too effective, because as you said, he's got to make these tyres last 35 laps. It's going to be a tough ask, and as I was about to say, it's going to be hard for him to defend positions, because he won't want to put too much load on the tyres. And that was a very, very easy move in the end for Jamie Hall, up into P5.
Comfortable. And Jamie, number 3 on the car, will be certainly hoping for more of the same as his charges continue back up through the field. That puts him +1 for the day so far with that bit of effort, and it could be more, because I think Jamie Hall is racing this one today against the likes of, say, someone like Kent Nielsen. There is Nielsen, by the way, who is looking behind, seeing Darren Parker there. We also know that Kent Nielsen came in early, but he's hitting that life cycle again when it comes to the soft compound tyre. He's one of the drivers committing to that 2-stop strategy. Darren Parker just behind is also on that 2-stop strategy, has gone soft here today. So you're looking at this, Parker and Nielsen and Hall, they're all going on to that 2-stop. Shane's on a 2-stop. John Pat Kelly, I believe, in the number 6 car, is also playing the 2-stop game. So pretty much everyone who's out there left is on the 2-stop, and that looks like a very slow Tamas Shane. Just as we were saying, he's going to have to dive into the pits there, because he has found out how difficult that penultimate corner is. Again, Tony Hawk mode. He's done so well to keep that out of trouble.
How did he keep it off that inside wall? I mean, he's done a great job to not do exactly the same as everyone else, but Wow, that was close. I'm surprised that he didn't end up in the fence.
I'm surprised as well. He's back out and away again here on lap 28, and no surprises. He's on another set of soft compound tyres. So at this rate here from Tamas Shane, we're just over halfway. We've got 20 laps to go. Shane at this stage might be on for a 3-stop.
Might have no choice. I mean, I don't know if he was actually wanting to pit then. He just sort of may have thought, well, I have to because my tyres are gone, or I have to because I've damaged them from that issue. But interesting that he's gone back for another set of softs. Of course, there's no limit on how many tyre stops you take. Put on 47 different sets of tyres for a 47 lap race. But to stop 3 times with such a slow pit lane, not only is it difficult to get into, it's slow as well. I don't see it being a hugely profitable strategy.
I don't either, but I believe his strategy is finishing the race, because as things stand, we've got 14 drivers circulating on circuit, 12 of which are on the leading lap right now here, Jay. We've had 6 victims in this race. Renato Augusto in dramatic circumstances. We saw what happened between Mitchell Welker and Klaus Siemetz earlier on. There was, of course, the issues for Jacob Reed, Felipe Cocho we saw, John Atkinson Jr., as well as Remy Garcia. So this is a track that, again, is going to be a track that I think drivers need to learn and understand how it works for future tracks that come out. There are a few talks out there about certain circuits coming to the service. Most of those certain circuits, Jay, come in the street circuit variety or close circuits like this with barriers that are pretty close around. It's not going to be those easy, expansive circuits that you see, because most of them are already on the service.
Yeah, of course, the one exception to that rule coming is Hungaroring, which potentially will be out this time next week, as Darren Parker's in, and Tarashane is going to get this move done. Maybe just, yes, he does. But Hungaroring, as long as it comes out, will feature on the schedule next season as well, which is going to be very, very cool. Yeah, you're right though. The potential of new tracks which have walls very, very close to the racing surface. They do have a change of mindset in how you drive them as well, don't they? I mean, take Long Beach. You drive Long Beach very, very differently than you would Silverstone, just because of the risk versus reward factor of the barrier being as close as it is. So I think, though, the more Grand Prix circuits that come into the service, the better it is for the series as well. Hungaroring, Red Bull Ring, both tracks that we had dreamed that maybe one day it could possibly, maybe if we cross our fingers the right way, could happen, and then all of a sudden we've got them on the service when we never thought we would. So more tracks that come along like that in that situation is going to be great for this series and other Formula Series in the future. Kent Nielsen is in the pits. He's getting more tyres. Going to make 17 laps on these ones.
Oh, and has been leapfrogged comprehensively by Darren Parker. And I mean comprehensively. We're talking 1 lap's difference, and look at that margin.
3.5 seconds in 1 lap.
So Kent Nielsen's in lap was a 1:22.1. Darren Parker's in lap was a 1:19.9.
Yeah, so it may have already been another mistake previous as well, and then his outlap wasn't too bad as well, looking at his outlap, that being Parker's outlap in comparison to other outlaps from other drivers, a 1:28. His first outlap was a 1:30, so outlap to outlap, he's 2 seconds faster this time around to his previous one.
Brad's in the pits. He's made his stop. He's gone from the the white walled hards to the yellow walled mediums, and he might have been caught speeding on the lane, hence why he's still there.
When it's not your day, it's not your day, but as I said before, if he can finish the race, doing better than a lot of others in the field. So it's the one positive to take out of this. Back talking about Marquez, his pace has dropped, which we did expect, but it hasn't dropped as much as I thought. He's only what, half a second, 3/4 of a second slower than Matt Wood lap on lap. So the pace drop-off is enough to mean that Matt Wood's driving away. But Marquez was maintaining the gap between Kent Nielsen and Darren Parker before they came in for their stop. So he may be able to continue on. But then again, we don't know how much that the tyre is going to wear and how much it will wear differently now that there is damage to the car as well. Because that can change when you've got damage on the car. So you might find that the tyre goes off a few laps earlier. Notice too, slight little bit of crabbing as well. Notice there just a tiny little bit of right hand down. Left hand down, I should say. So no surprise that the steering's a little bit bent after that incident.
Yeah, no surprises at all. It was a massive, massive hit. And one of the sort of things that you could say that you're very thankful as a driver that you've got the old damage model on the car and not the new one, because that sort of hit with new damage model, that's carbon fiber and confetti everywhere, and that's race over.
Yeah, he would have had that front wheel ripped out, and Ronaldo Augusto would have had a rear bouncing around the circuits and probably over onto the beach. Very huge hit.
Making a break for freedom for the English Channel, potentially?
Probably not that carried away.
Well, you never know. He's got a lot of energy after an accident like that.
Very true.
Either way, though, 13 seconds to Jamie Hall in third position. Does Jorge Marquez have at this point in time? And Hall only a couple of tenths of a second quicker per lap on that last lap, at least, if that is anything to go by at this moment. And we're talking about differences between drivers and how much the tyres are going off. Keep an eye on David Weisbeck's times, because he just did a 14.9 on that last go around, which means that the tyres are definitely falling off. And I think either now or in a couple of laps' time, he should be thinking about that final switch to softs.
14.5 on that lap just there. Yeah, that's Parker just behind. That is back-to-back fastest laps of the race for Darren Parker.
Well, I doubt it will be on this lap, because he's got traffic in the form of Milanovici, who just gets out of the way there through the Hugen holes. And I tell you what, it's such a spectacle to see Formula One cars go around that banked corner. It's so quick and ferocious as you go on through. But for Milanovici, for the Reading through these corners, it's all about survival. For Darren Parker, he knows that in a couple of laps' time, he will catch up onto the back of David Weisbeck. And with that sort of level of differentiation, you talk about needing to be about 1.5 to 2 seconds a lap quicker than the car in front to be completely fine and clean on making an overtake. That's very much the case that we're seeing right now from Darren Parker. He's got the pace. It should be plain sailing to get by Weisbeck.
The only issue he may have is if he's burnt the tyres up a little bit too much too early by pushing as hard as he is. I think he should be okay though, because as the fuel load is coming off, it will help improve him in regards to pace. That lap there, it's a 13.0 versus a 14.7, so 1.7 seconds faster than the car ahead of Weisbeck. So he's flying. He'll probably catch Weisbeck by the end of this lap, use the DRS and get by. But Weisbeck is now in that awkward spot where he's now, 23, 24 laps into his stint. Does he come back in and get another set of softs just to take it home? Or can he try and hold these mediums out to the end? Because pace-wise, it's looking like he's already reached that cliff, isn't it? So with that early pit stop to come in and take the mediums, it's now an interesting dynamic on what he does. It's a very awkward position he's found himself in.
Well, just take a look, because 25 seconds from here is Tamas Shane. That will be one of the eyes that you look at. You've got Christoph Montz as well. He'll fall into that sort of bracket, but he'll have the best tyres of anyone, and he'll just slew his way through those sorts of drivers who will not have that same level of tyre life to go and play with. And the longer that he stays out there trying to hold it together, the more that tyre's going to wear, the more abrasions he's going to get on the surface of the tyre, and the longer this race is going to struggle. You can see he's going on to lap 36 of his race, and a 14.8 on that attempt through. Darren Parker now has caught the back, and this is very much a case of, it's not a case of if, it might just be a case of when here from Darren Parker.
Yeah, it's definitely now down to a when as opposed to if, because pace is just too good at this stage from Parker. Fresh softs versus very worn mediums. There's no real competition. There's no real battle here. Just a matter of finding the right spot on the track to be able to get the move done. Weisbeck will try and make it as difficult as he can, but there's not going to be any way you can fight this. Probably going to be into turns 11 and 12 into the arena section, you would think. A little bit of DRS help down this straight here. Yeah, definitely going to be here, I would think.
We've also had another overtake on track for position as Klaus Siemens loses that. Soranzo!
Oh.
That is aggressive from one Mr. Darren Parker. Had to throw the car up the inside. It needed wherewithal from Weisbeck, who did have there every right to shut the door on Darren Parker at that moment in time. Virtual Racing Score replay. Parker just put his race in the hands of Weisbeck, who obliged.
And as you said, he didn't have to. He didn't have to make that as friendly or as easy as he did, but yeah, he just made it. He went to throw it, turn it in, and decided, no, I can't do that. There's a car going to be there. No, there's no car there. I'll turn it in. Oh, yep, hang on, there is a car there. So yeah, had 3 bites of it, did Weisbeck, but I couldn't quite get the courage up. I was going to say Dutch courage, but probably can't really say that when we're in the Netherlands, can we? Yeah, he was trying to get the courage up to block the pass, but I mean, if he didn't get through there, that's Parker. If Parker didn't get through there, wouldn't have been too much further down the track. He would have got the move done anyway, so probably the right move in the end from Weisbeck to give up the spot. No point defending when you've got such a huge tyre deficit as what is there now. You can see, just in the background, Kent Nielsen, not far away. What that has done as well, that it did benefit Kent Nielsen. He gained a second on that lap just because of that attempt at a move that turned into a move that probably shouldn't have been a move.
To Weisbeck, he gained 2.5 seconds on that last lap. Shows you how quick Kent's running. DRS is open, was within that 1 second margin here around this place. On the brakes in towards turn at number 1 and looking to attack off of the exit through to Tarzan through Gerlach. This is the Hugenholz corner here. This big left up the hill you challenge. You got turns 4 and 5 coming up, and it's this sweeping section of road which continuously proves to be a really strong place to get things done. The big right of Shivlak is a killer for those wanting to stay within aerospace because of that dirty air effect that comes into play, and it just slows through this middle sector. It's all about setup. This is a setup corner, and it's going to be almost a carbon copy, you'd feel. Kent Nielsen getting a good run off of the exit, using the DRS to advantage. This time he is going to get alongside way before they hit the brakes, and I think Weisbeck has got the notice. Might try an up and under, ain't going to get there. That is a comfortable overtake there for Kent Nielsen.
Yep, nice move from Kent Nielsen to get that done. And the one thing with getting that move done, didn't lose any ground. Like we saw Darren Parker lost a bit of time getting the pass done, and prior to getting the pass done, Kent Nielsen got it done a lot easier. Lap previous as well, Kent Nielsen did his fastest lap of the race too, so his pace is well and truly there. Weisbeck now on lap 27 of these tyres, and it's just done a 15.8, even though there was the overtake. That's still a fairly slow lap.
Good news, though, for David Weisbeck is he's got 18 seconds to Tamas Shane, and you can see Shane's going on those soft tyres, and, well, saying 18 seconds, it's already down to 17.5 at this moment in time. So Shane is pushing, and I reckon he could get there by the end. He'd have to catch at 2 seconds a lap, and that's not impossible with Weisbeck's situation at this point in time. Other good battles to keep an eye out on then is Darren Parker's charge. Was half a second a lap quicker than Jamie Hall in the last go as we look at Soranzo out there on track. This is another one for position. Soranzo's out there on that 2-stop strategy, and he has got his eyes lit up because that is 11th place and Milanovic. And Milanovic, yes, exactly, just in front.
This battle is getting rather intense, and one thing I was about to say while we were talking about Weisbeck and Shane, Weisbeck should feel safe about Tamas Shane behind, because remember, Shane's going to have to do 20 laps on these softs, or else he's going to have to come in and pit again. So one way or another is in a very, very good position as that's up the or around the outside. Is he going to get it done? He's done it around the outside.
Yeah. around the
Nice
outside. He's lucky, actually, he got that car slowed down there, did David Soranzo in the Mock Alpine, because he knew going through that he had to be late on the brakes to commit around the outside. So Milanovic knew to leave the room on the exit by eye-line. And then on top of that, he was nearly in that gravel up on the top side of the track. So good eyes ahead of you moment from David Soranzo. Moves him up then into 11th, and I tell you what, he'll be hoping that there could be more, but there is not. Jan Straczynski is a full half a lap clear, but speaking of gaps, Darren Parker is absolutely flying. Took nearly a second out of Jamie Hall that last time by. He's got the gap down to 3.5.
Battle's getting closer on the timesheet, but you can't really see it on track yet. But 1 full second in favour of Darren Parker there, so... give it another, 3 laps, and we'll see the nose to tail. Going to be very, very interesting. Can Jamie Hall hold off on very, 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 very old tyres on the end of this race?
Not got long. They're on lap 41 of 47. 7 laps to go. You can see a little bit of compression bouncing over that curb as they went through. Sleeve that corner. Big long right-hander. And this is where you'd have to say... And it's something that I saw Matt Gallagher tweet about earlier on today. This track might just be the greatest hot lap or qualifying track in the world. It's so quick. It requires all that attention. For racing, though, gets a little bit trickier than that. But for a 1-lap qualifying lap, there aren't many places in the world here, Jay, that are as satisfying as stringing one together here. Yeah,
it's such a cool track, this one. As we said before, it's a real underrated track. It's a much better track than it is given credit for. It's a forgotten circuit within iRacing, and I love this place. It brings back a lot of memories of one of my first ever non-Mazda races when I joined iRacing was at this track in the Skippy. So pretty cool from my perspective. A long time ago that was. But it's such an amazing track in the way that it flows. It's one of those old school tracks that it feels natural in the way that it flows with the terrain around it. It's not something that's been drawn up on a piece of paper. You can tell that this is an old school track that they've just gone out and done things without in a paddock or within the sand dunes. Of course, not the original layout that they're running in this iteration that we've got on iRacing. Of course, the original one went off into the forest at turn 8 at Masters, and then it came back on at turn 9. But this version that we've got here is very, very cool. It flows beautifully, drives amazingly, and very, very rewarding, as you said, when you get a lap in almost perfect.
I certainly agree, and this is one of the few circuits as well which has been at the forefront of trying to be safe. Of course, the old circuit, yes, you're absolutely right, went out of Skivlak, continued at Masters through Hondenvlak, went through a tunnel actually as well, went through Tunnel Erst, and then went on with an incredibly long front stretch. But
some sort of farmland where they used to do crops and something, and then they cut down the crops just before race day so they could see the cars. It was something like that.
Yeah, and this is one of the few circuits as well which, when you consider how it was built, it was one of the few circuits out there in the era of the 70s as well, Jay, that was trying to be one of the pioneers for safety. I know Sir Jackie Stewart was one who was looking at Zandvoort, hoping to be a really, really good circuit. Ultimately, it took them a little while to bring them back to this iteration of the circuit, which first, this element of a track being created was first on from 1999 was when it was created like this.
Yeah, so the track we have the scan within iRacing is the 1999 to 2019 version. Of course, they started to make the upgrades in 2019 for the abandoned Dutch Grand Prix 2020, and of course we now know what's happening this weekend. And I was unsure when the cars started to roll out for practice in the real world this weekend, that how it would look and how it would race and how it would be. But I tell you what, I'm so excited for the race this weekend. It's going to be very, very cool to watch these cars battle that track. With the modifications they made, the extra banking through turn 14, banking through turn 3, the runoff at Tarzan, it's going to be really cool so much of the old school has been left, just improved enough to make it safer in a modern aspect, but they've kept all of the old character as well, which I think is absolutely awesome. And how quick is it as well? It just looks awesome as well, so it's so good to watch.
We've been noticing that Jamie Hall turned 2 into 3, ran a little bit wide. We're here at 10 and 11 now. The Hanshurst corner, the former Audi S, as it used to be called, going through the right. Parker struggling a little bit on the exit there as he gets buffeted with the dirty air, trying to put the power down. But really, it's about setup and hold on for 3 more laps of this place. They're fighting 25 seconds off of your leader right now, which is Matt Wood, your champions-elect, as they go into turn 1. This is another lap of setup here for Darren Parker. He knows he's got the tyre. He knows he's got the time to work on it. And Jamie Hall, who's put up a very resilient race here today at Zandvoort, he knows that he's on borrowed time. He's just hoping he can get it over the line in that 3rd position.
You know, I think you'd probably be hoping for a minor mistake from Darren Parker, or hope for him to do something outlandish and maybe outbrake himself while trying to get a move done. If Parker comes alongside, I don't expect Jamie Hall to defend this too aggressively. Remember, his tyres are 28 laps old on that medium compound, so they are starting to feel a little bit like jelly underneath him. But he's still got the position, and the track position is key in a track that is rather difficult to overtake. Sure, the DRS does help, but as you've said before many, many times, the DRS isn't there to help you overtake. It's to help you get into a position to make the overtake yourself.
Exactly. This isn't a free overtake button. It is you've still got to do the work. And now the first real line of defence with a couple of laps to go for Jamie Hall and Darren Parker's fight for 3rd. Big lock-up from Hall going through Tarzan. And once again, it is about how you navigate this place. It's about how you figure out where to make the move on a track which is notoriously difficult to find overtakes. We've seen quite a few today, which has been really, really refreshing to see. But the key now is, well, where are you on track and how do you manage that move? This middle sector is so key. Hall has been so solid through here.
Definitely has been. He's done a very, very good job keeping it consistent, keeping it under control.
Now you see.
Workout.
Absolutely. White flag. 1 lap to go for Matt Wood, who goes into Tarzan box. Turn number 1 out on track. The battle continues for the last spot on the podium. It's close as you can possibly throw it between Hall and Parker. Parker's taking a really aggressive line through the Audi S. He's not setting himself up for this section, and this is what is hurting him. He's losing ground through here, and this might be the last chance he gets. Try and make a move. He will close up, but not enough here on Jamie Hall, who just covers off the move into turn 1 as Parker's tyres maybe just hit that moment where he can't do enough to get by the even older tyres of Jamie Hall's through the Hoogan holes at turn number 3, and up the hill the challenge comes along once again. It is a case for Darren Parker of where are you going to find that move. The only place I can think of it now is going to be into 10. That's the only other place we've seen out on circuit anybody make a move. Unless there is a mistake from the number 3 machine, we are not going to be seeing that as a reality. Final 2 corners though for your champions elect. It has been a season where it has been nearlies on nearlies on nearlies. Finally, Matt Wood can say he has got that all sorted. A big victory, and one which was driven faultlessly by car number 1.
What a drive, what a championship, what a season he's had. He's been absolutely brilliant the whole way through and absolutely deserving of the victory. Do your celebratory burnouts now. That's the go. Jorge Marquez, he'll be disappointed, but great result in the end. 2nd for the race after that issue. 2nd in the championship. And Jamie Hall holds on from Darren Parker in the end. Great drive from him. And Kent Nielsen will round out yet another top 5. He has had so many top 5s in this series this season. That is a very, very good effort from him.
Absolutely. It's been incredible to see from all sorts of drivers get themselves through. Great recovery as well by David Weisbeck here today to finish off in 6th place is definitely nothing to shake a stick at, and it wasn't as close as maybe he would have liked. Tamas Shane in the end, only about 5 seconds back off of him. So it gets close to the line as well. There's Christoph Montz making it over. And then the final driver on the lead lap will make it home, John Pat Kelly here today. But let's get confirmation of result then of the final round of the championship here from Zandvoort in the Netherlands. It is Matt Wood who gets it done 58 minutes, 15 seconds, and wins by a margin of 19.4 in the end to Jorge Marquez. That's not necessarily a metric of how good Matt Wood was, but the damage that Marquez received after running into the back of Reynaldo Augusto today was a huge difference maker in how this race could have been won or lost. Jamie Hall ends up with third, with Darren Parker in fourth, unable to find a way around the number 3 machine, with Kent Nielsen rounding out the top 5. Canadian with a really strong drive today. David Weisbeck ends up in 6th, with Tamas Shane 7th. Christoph Montz, by the way, your biggest mover in the field. He was up 10 places today from 18th to 8th, with John Pat Kelly in 9th. And rounding out the top 10, 1 lap down, Jan Stratinsky getting a rare top 10 in the series. David Soranzo ended up in 11th, with Valentin Milanovici in 12th, and Brad Newman, even with the long stop there, the Aussie coming home in P13. With Klaus Siemens 2 laps down in 14th, he was the last finisher. He found his way into the pit attenuator, miraculously able to get the car extricated and able to go out there and finish the race, as the drivers who found themselves in accidents could not. Reynaldo Augusto, we saw dramatically have that crash, of course, with one Mr. Jorge Marquez. We saw Mitchell Welker's incident coming into the pits. He had that one just behind a certain important driver, that, of course, being Klaus Siemens overall. Following that, Jacob Reed found trouble. So did Felipe Coccio, along with John Atkinson Jr. of Phoenix Esports, and Remy Garcia finding out why the penultimate corner is effectively a Tony Hawk underground paradise as you go through that section. But Matt Wood, your champion, absolutely faultless drive, will take 2021 Season 3 with aplomb. And Jay, it all sets up for a Season 4, which, by my reckoning, Jorge Marquez would absolutely want to run back with an extra 1/10 of a second.
100%, and we start off at one of the greats of this series as well. We start at Monza in 2 weeks' time. So round 1, Season 4 is going to be absolutely epic. The first 3 rounds of the season, if the schedule is as expected, you ready for this? Monza, Hungaroring, Red Bull Ring. How cool is the start of the next season going to be? Make sure you watch here on SimSpeed. It is going to be so cool.
It absolutely is. It's the only place you can get it. If you haven't had the chance to already, you're here for the first time. What are you doing? Like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content brought to you by us. We have so many amazing things that come along on the horizon. But a massive thanks has to go to all of those who get it done, as we watch a slow motion doughy from Matt Wood, who's very happy. He even gives himself a tail tap there on the wall. Boop, there's the tap. But a massive thanks to the Virtual Racing School, who have been sponsors of the replays all season long and will do into the next season of iRacing content. On top of that, a massive thanks to the team here over the course of this season, from Jay Kennedy, of course, who's been cameras and commentary, Scott Fountain over the course of this season, myself as well, Jake Sperry. It's been a pleasure to bring you action of your iRacing Grand Prix Series. Matt Wood has picked up exactly what was wanted there. The championship, the victory, it was all the formality in the end with the way that he drove. But it's a difference chasing the title. Now you've got to go and defend it. We haven't seen a defense of the title in a number of seasons here when it has come to our iRacing Grand Prix Series. Is this the time that someone wants to claim that that championship is their domain? We'll see you next season. That will be 2 weeks from now, with the start of the championship to be believed. It will be the Temple of Speed we head to. Pay your tithings. We'll see you soon.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.